Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TM Consultancy Space. Yes. So basically, in this space, I'm not going only to explain to you about um, what is TM in in operation wise, but also I also have Amra here, RCVPTM of Isaac and RMIT, sharing as well her experience in being an RCVPTM, and then anyone can join if you're just curious, want to know what's TM doing, because there's no team leaders and members in TM, right? So only RCVP. So if you want to know more what actually we're doing, I welcome you to this space basically. Nice. So fun fact, my name is Kiki. I'm MCVP, TM, and OD. I'm Indonesian and Malaysian, so both of my parents are Indonesian, but I have Malaysian descendants from my mom. And then I am an INTJ. I'm an introvert. I don't look like introvert, but sometimes I'm just very tired of a lot of noisy environment. But that's really cool. I spent my ISAQs 4 years until now, since 2014. The first role that I take is OC for OGV. So that's my first role. And then I love anime and I'm vegetarian. Yes. So that is the two things that very distinct about me. So nice and cool. So I think before I start to explain about oh, what is TM doing? What is our KPI? What is your job description? So basically, this is the myths about TM. Or what people think about TM is, first, create beautiful slides. Second, we do plan LC bonding. Third, we are the one that hold LC meetings. And then the last is we give people's probation. So when we hate people, we're just I will put you on probation. So there's the myths about TM. But then actually, that is not only the thing that TM do, and that is only the stereotype of what people think about TM and not what people see in the surface. Because that is the thing that, for example, maybe you look at us when we are doing that, but then that is not the big picture of what we're doing. And yes, so basically, this is the role of the TM in general in Isaac. So our role is actually predicting outcomes, diagnosing problems, and prescribing actions on the people side that we add value to the business and membership. So the things that we do in TM is very strategical in terms of how to make sure that based on the information that we have from the people, we can actually create strategies and create action steps that can actually add value to the business that we have, which is doing exchanges. And then why TM is only putting in RCVPs right now, because it's a very strategical role. So you need to have the knowledge of all operations, how the RC works, to actually can make that decisions as a TM. So that's why as a TM, you not only can know what is what TM is doing, but also operations as well. At least the basic thing of it. Yes. And cool. So connecting again of what we're doing. So if you remember, this is the Isaac way, right? And very, very important thing is that actually the people in our organizations are the one that are creating the opportunities for you. So membership in Isaac is actually not a product. Our product is OGV, if you know, Global Volunteer, Global Talent and Global Entrepreneur. And then the membership that we have in Isaac is the one that creates the opportunities to actually for people to develop leadership. And then how can those people develop leadership is through practical experience, which is doing go to exchange. And then the second is to able to create those opportunities. For example, those people that can send people to go exchange, we need to make sure that those people have skills and also knowledge to able to deliver the experience. So we need to make sure that the members that are in Isaac have the ability and capacity to actually do exchanges. And yeah, so basically, the objectives of having membership in Isaac is developing ourselves by developing other people. So actually us members of Isaac, we are developing ourselves by actually delivering those experience and then providing the opportunities for them. So if members are actually not delivering these opportunities, what are we actually doing in Isaac? Because this is the basic Bible of what we are doing in our membership. Cool. So so based on that, so if we want to make sure that we are developing other people, developing ourselves by developing other people, then how to make sure that our main measurement of success is percentage of members achieving their goals. So goals means that the number of people that can our members sense to develop themselves through cross-cultural exchanges. And then in Isaac and Australia wise, our goals is at least achieving 70% of it. So like we need to make sure that our members achieving their goals, at least 70% of it. And then like every entity has different realities. So sometimes they have different goals, but like this is the minimums that we need to strive to actually make sure that we can deliver the impact through leadership experiences. Nice. So is everyone G? Is there any question? No? Wave? Cool. So if it's Wave, if you have any question, you can also put in the chat. I will answer later. So I will continue again. Nice. So, okay. So if you already know, right, how can we actually do that as a VPTM to make sure that our member actually achieving their goals? Okay, so what we do is making decision about our people by using data. So like, for example, you know, right? Oh, you hear that, oh, my members is demotivated, my members is tired, my members doesn't want to do work, this kind of thing. So how can we actually make decision based on the information that we have from our membership? So to give you some insights, like this is some of the data that we use in TM. So like usually every month, if you ask your PPTM, we have things they call monthly talent report. So this monthly talent report is a thing that we always get from the LCs to know like how many members that they have in the current month, and then how many members actually achieving their goals in like their entity. So like this is a thing that we do monthly, and then we also have TM scoreboard. So like as a PPTM, like all of us are tracking like team standards and also TM processes like monthly. So we know like where is the standards of everyone right now in our membership. And then like the last one is engagement survey. So like if you know, right, like currently we have like national engagement survey. So like this national engagement survey is happening like quarterly. So that is the thing that MC is like sharing to all of you to know like where our membership is at. And then like this data, we use it to actually create strategies such as like engagement, rewards and recognitions, like how should we do coaching, how should we do conferences, this kind of thing. So like that's why the engagement survey is very important. And then like the things that the LCs do is monthly. So like sometimes LC also have their own engagement survey. And then the objective of it is to know like where our membership at, so we can create strategy based on that. So like we're actually making decisions not because how we feel, like how we feel about the people, but also we need to have like objective results from it. So like we really need to use data, and we really need to be savvy about it. And yes, so this is kind of like the examples of diagnosing problems and prescribing actions. So for example, from the data that we have, which is like the engagement survey, we have the monthly plan report. So for example, we already have like the inferences, right? So like, for example, the inferences is like our members doesn't have the skills and capacity to actually do exchange. So like how to actually improve the skills and capacity of our members. So this is like some examples of what TM can suggest. Is first is making sure that education are practical and debrief their learnings. So like how to make sure that when we give education to our members and TLs, we're not only giving like slides or like giving a webinar, this kind of thing, but then also following up and tracking them and how they are improving after the education process. And then like the second thing is like implement assessment of members' knowledge gap, or where are they and what can be improved. So like how to make sure we know like where like each of our members at in terms of their products and functions, and then like the TLs or the VPs can use this data to actually deliver like better education to the members, for example. And then like the next one is making sure that team leaders are capacitated in delivering education. So sometimes, right, we know like what members are lacking at, but then us, for example, as team leaders or like VP doesn't have the capacity or like ability to actually deliver a very good education. So that's why, for example, like VPTMs or like MC VPTMs can like give this education for you to do better communication skills, for example, or do better like education to members. So like this is kind of like the actions that we prescribe based on the inferences that we have. Cool. So like basically this will be the day-to-day of things or questions that you will ask yourself, or how to make sure that my members are performing, how to make sure my members are like motivated to do the exchanges. And we think of that decision based on like how the data that we get from. Yes. So like that's what TM do. And yes, so like this is basically our key performance indicators and job description. So like the thing that we do is basically we want to make sure that our business strategy, which is our operation, are balanced with our membership experience. So like the ideal state would be like all of my members are happy in doing exchanges and they're actually a high performing member. So like they feel connected to what they're doing in ISAC, and also like they can contribute a lot to create those opportunities for people to do exchange. So that is like the ideal state of like the things that we do for STM. And then like for TM, basically how do we ensure that every ISACers or other members that we have in our entity are achieving their goals? So for TM specifically, we have a full responsibility of the TM processes. So for example, get, develop, keep, report. So if you don't know, please ask your VPTMs. Basically, there's a lot of resources as well I can share to you after this. So like get, in general, is like recruitment, develop is like training, performance management, like tracking how our members are doing. Keep is like R&R, engagement, and report is basically like, if you see here, we have like the monthly talent report. So this is the thing that we report about a membership like monthly. And then like for team standards, basically for TM, we don't implement it, but we make sure that every TM people, every team leaders in our entity actually able to deliver it and deliver it properly to the members. Yes, so this is the TLDR. So basically our KPI is percentage of TM process implementation and also percentage of team standards implementation. So if you see here, this is for TLDR, you can read it later. This is like the thing that I already explained to you earlier. And then for team standards is making sure that we're facilitating and creating spaces for team leaders to be able to deliver team standards to their members. So like the things that we can do, for example, is training our team leaders, educating our team leaders, and then make sure that the team leaders see like the connection and the importance of how we need to implement team standards. Yes, so that is the thing that we mainly do as a PPTM. And disclaimer, so this is very, very important. Like every team leader is responsible for their team, and TM only plays a role to support and facilitate team leaders. Yeah, again, so like for team standards, this is basically our role, and the full responsibility is in the team leaders. Cool. So yes, so TLDR of everything is basically, first, how can we ensure that each person in our organization adds value by contributing to exchange? So like we make sure that our members are connected and driven to actually being productive in the entity. And then the second one is using data to make our key people decisions. So for example, like recruiting people, like training people, for example, like firing people as well. So like this is, we make this decision based on data and make it very objectively. So we can enable our members with the right knowledge, skills, and attitude in the entity. And then the last thing is this process is being delivered by every single person leading a team, not only VPTM. So like basically VPTM cannot work if the TLs and the people in the entity doesn't want to work with VPTM. So like this is the biggest challenge that we have as a VPTM, but I think that is the most fun one as well. Cool. So yeah, at least that's also after this. We will have Amra to share the experience. So Amra, are you ready?
Yeah.
Cool. So you can tell me next if you want to.
Okay, cool. So hi, I'm Amra. I am VPTM of ISAC and RMIT. I am an ESFP, so apparently I'm extroverted, but that's just like 51%, so it's like a technicality. I've been in ISAC for a year and a half. I'm obsessed with fried chicken, and I was an IXP, so I went on exchange to Italy at the beginning of this year. So just like next slide. So this was my first month and my transition period. So like when you run for EB, you're kind of not exactly sure of what you're getting into until like the water pours on you and then you're like, damn, I have so much to do. But what's really great is that you have that transition period and your predecessor will work really hard to make sure that you actually know what you're doing. So that picture is my EB at water pouring, and the one of all of us dressed up is at VidCon. So what you guys may or may not be aware of is that you have from about the time that you're elected until Feb 1st to really learn as much as you can before your term starts, to really get that support. And you'll always have like your predecessor, and you'll always have like the super EB, which is like the current EB, and you guys as the elect to really like work off each other and consolidate and make sure that when you do start your term, you have the best footing possible. So next slide. So this is from Functional Summit. So I was not a team leader when I was elected to my EB position. I was a member, and I'd only been a member for like 4 months. So I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was really comforting going to Functional Summit, which was right before VidCon, and meeting all of the other VPTMs. So like both of those pictures was us all at Functional Summit being completely clueless. So with TM, it's not something that you are like meant to know throughout your member experience. You will get coaching on that, and you will like pick it up pretty quickly, but you'll have a lot of support in your first few months as an elect from other VPTMs, your MC VPTM, and as well as your predecessor, and as well as like your LCP to properly give you that like support, that guidance, and that feedback that you'll need. Because when you start your term, it's not that you're on your own, but you're expected to be a little bit more independent. So next slide. So building and growing the LC. So when ISEC and RMIT started, a lot of our senior members had either graduated or they'd left the LC to pursue other things. So it was really a matter of doing recruitment. And the way they did it this year was very different to the way ISEC did it in many other years. So in other years, instead of using a week for opens, they were like, okay, MT was like, we're going in a new direction. We're going to start recruiting online. I was in Italy on exchange. My LCP was in Mauritius. And one of our other VPs was overseas. So we were working like essentially off like 3 different parts of the world. But it really taught us how to communicate and really taught us how to properly like plan out our recruitment strategy and how to get the right people. So on the left, that's our LC and SIM1 at StateCon. So that was an extremely testing time for me, at least as VPTM, because I had recruited all of these people, but I'd never met any of these people, nor had I interviewed them. So it was really knowing that when you're VPTM, you're not on your own. You're meant to work with the other portfolios and you're meant to really work with your EB. So the way I trusted my EB to take like really thorough notes, and we had like EBMs at really weird hours because of the time difference, and we recruited a really good team in SEM1. And then for SEM2, like we understood that maybe we may or may not have executed things right in SEM1, but it's really good that if you haven't done something right or you think that you've made a mistake, there's always room for improvement, and take note of that and sort of look into when you have the other opportunity like we did in SEM2 recruitment, how did we want to fix that? In SEM1, we realized we hadn't really done onboarding that well. We hadn't trained our members that well. So in SEM2, we decided to do things a lot more thoroughly. We decided to run assessment centers more thoroughly, and we decided to make sure that more than one EB member did the interviews. So that way we made sure that like when we did our SEM2 recruitment, we improved on SEM1, and that way we could really make sure we led the momentum. And a misconception about TM is that like we make slides and we're meant to like talk to every member, we're meant to like, oh, like it's all about like holding hands and being like PNF and everything. That's fun too, but it's really about growing and empowering your LC. Because if you train your members right, and if your members feel empowered to do work, and if your members feel really connected to the work that they do, then you'll have like your future LCVPs, you'll have your future TLs, you might even have your future MCVPs or future MCPs. We're really making sure that we're empowering our members to continue on in ISEC, or at least to properly be able to develop their skills or get what they wanted out of joining, whilst also contributing to LC's growth. So next slide. So working with the EB, so like, as I said, like you're not alone and you'll have to work with your other functional VPs, but the key thing to know is that you have a lot of support in EB. So you'll have your EB coach, that was Adi Mani and someone, and you'll have your other VPs to work with you. Like there are some times where I don't know what to do, and I'll either talk to Brooke, or I'll talk to Maury, I'll talk to Lama, and I'll try get different insight, because TM doesn't work alone. You work with other portfolios, because that's the way you make sure that your LC's goals are being met, or that you can at least make sure you're providing enough support. So like you'll go through quite a few like ups and downs. Like it's not going to be like a perfect experience. Like your EB is not going to be like having like late night DNMs each night, like holding hands. If you do, then like amazing. But yeah, there'll be times where you might agree, like disagree on certain things. But the key thing to understand is that like it happens, but communication is really key, and like understanding and like getting perspectives is extremely important, because in your EB position, you're doing everything for the LC, not for yourself. So it's to really think about it in a way like, okay, if I'm really invested in a plan, which I've been before, but it doesn't go to plan and people don't agree, but if they provide like really good explanations as to why, or if they provide really good reasoning, I'll be like, you know what, that's okay. Like this is for the LC, this isn't like just for me. So it's to make sure that like as an EB, you understand how to communicate and you understand like what your role is and how you can support. Next. And then you've got the commission. So like this is our TM commission. And like you're not alone in TM really. Like I know I've said that a lot, but you have an entire commission from the nation, and you have like your group chats, you have your commission chats. And there, like I've gotten a lot of insight that like I'm not the only one experiencing certain bottlenecks. You'll see certain VPs that are doing something really well, and you can ask them like, how are you getting your LC to perform so well? Like, what are you doing for engagement? What's your reality like? How do you do this? How do you do that? It's a really great support system. because you can get ideas and you can tweak things to fit your own reality, because in the end everyone's there to help each other, and you've got that consistent touch point to make sure that like you're learning new things, you're consistently improving your skills, because you're not expected to know everything in that like 4 months of transition. Like you're not meant to just be like a genius by the end of it. There's a lot of trial and error, but you still have a lot of support in that. And that's been like really helpful for me, at least. And like being able to reach out to people and know that it's really comforting. Plus like they're just really fun people to band with. So like there's that as well. So yeah, that's been my experience, at least as an LCV PTM. Like it's not all smooth sailing, but it's it's not all smooth sailing, but like you really get to learn as much as you can, and you see a lot of growth. And when you see people that like you've recruited in the LC then take that next step, it's really satisfying to know that like you've worked together with your EB and your LC to make sure that like your members are like empowered, but that you're also producing good quality exchanges.
Thank you, Amra. That's very inspiring and interesting story. Yeah, I think again, like to emphasize, like especially being a PPTM is not only like a self work. Like you really need to work with your EB, and then like as a PPTM, you really need to communicate with them very well, and like really have that purpose of really want to serve the LCs and make the members not only empowered and also satisfied being an ISF, but also like delivering and taking that actions in the entity as well. Cool. So after this, we will have like a question and answer. So you can ask me or you can ask Amra as well. So basically, anyone who wants to ask anything, I need to access the chat. Okay. Where's the chat? Ah, here. So I will open the chat. Cool. Wife material. Nice. Anyone have any question, like on how TN is doing? You can ask me or Amra. We still have time.
Wait, can I ask a question now?
Can.
Okay. One thing I was wondering was like, because this is something that was brought up in, I think, my platform, but I was sort of just curious on what your thoughts were. It was basically like, how can we better align membership experience with entity growth and achievement? And like, yeah, for me, like, I think of it as developing connection, but I was actually just kind of interested to see what like kind of perspective you guys have on it, because like obviously you have a lot more experience.
Okay, so maybe Amra, do you want to share first?
Like in terms of what works for engagement?
Yeah, like ideas or strategies you can implement to align those two.
I mean, it really starts from recruitment. Like it's really like recruitment is quite a gamble, because some people like they come off as like super keen, but then later you just see they're just like sliding in for the resume. But it's really like utilizing when you recruit people, like the first month is extremely important in terms of like making sure that they're integrated and the expectations are set correctly.
Yeah.
Because if you set the right expectations and they're still staying, that means you've gotten a really good quality member. So what we did at least was in Sem 2, we had this thing called like LitCon, which is local induction training conference. And what we did was like we introduced them to roll calls, we did games, like we did get to know yous and everything. So that way when we like eased everyone into that, by day 3 when we did functional stuff, they didn't really have a problem doing it.
Yeah.
But then it was also making sure that the next few LCMs after that, we emulated that same conference style that we did. So we did like roll calls when we showed up, we did like opening, we did like education, but we tried to make it really interactive. But it's also like when you're at an LCM as an EB to maybe like talk to members, get to know the members, but then making sure that the TLs are creating that really good environment where members feel like they can ask questions, where they can foster a really good learning environment, because everything is about the environment that you create and the vibe you create. So if people feel like open to work, or if people feel open to talk, then you know that they'll be more inclined to come to LCMs, come to team meetings, and they'll feel really connected to the people as well as the organization. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think like to follow up with Amber's question, like basically, I think the most important thing, of course, is like during the recruitment. But to make it very simple, like especially during like this stage where you have members are questioning maybe themselves, like why I'm here, why I need to do a lot of exchanges, like this kind of thing. I think you need to have like the expectations super clear, like making sure that we also.
I have a question to Kiki, but
wait, can you hear me?
no.
Oh, Really? Am I muted?
Like I can hear you now, but then because your mouse was moving earlier on, but there was
Ah,
no sound.
GG. Okay, because I'm actually sharing something. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I think just to wrap up, like what Amra says is like, I think the most important thing is like what drives your people to like do exchanges, and then like have that connection to like making sure that it's always like reminded to them, like, okay, you do exchanges because you want to achieve this, and like you think this is very important. So like I think always emphasizing that not only in recruitment but in every touch points that you have. So that's why like as VPTM we always ask you to do one-to-one, like do come to LC meeting, do MBMs, like this kind of thing. Like this touch point is making sure that they actually stay connected like with what we're doing. So like I think making sure that they have like those membership experience, like being treated as a member of the entity, but at the same time like driving them to like delivering that opportunities as well. Yes. So cool. Alyssa, do you have anything?
Oh yeah. There was like it was more on the structure, whether MC was creating any materials for TLs to like deliver to their member in terms of like, I don't know, like any kind of education that's not to do with operational stuff. Because I think one of the things that TLs kind of struggled, or not struggle, but more of like we run out of things to talk about, and like it's always like action space, discussion space, operational space, again and again and again, because we also lack that, and then we don't really know, we don't have that guide to to incorporate or give that space for reflection spaces. Like there's no standardized way in that sense. So is there something that MC is coming up with, or is that something meant to be on the LCVP side?
Actually, we have. Like we actually create that. So basically what we do in like in the MC is our ESC team, like last semester we create a lot of materials on like how TLs can do one-to-one, how TLs can do like team meetings, like what kind of questions that we should ask during one-to-one, and what kind of questions that we should ask during PDP. And then like sometimes as well, if you check the newsletter, like in TM side, like for me, I always share people articles, like articles such as like how to communicate with your people, like how to manage your members' time, this kind of thing. So like I think it's actually there. So like maybe the question is like how often that you actually like receive those material from the VPTMs, or like maybe for example like questioning again, like usually this thing is delivered during MBMs, right, like during the TLs meeting. So like we actually actively trying to educate like TLs like during MBMs, and like how can they actually manage like their team better, and like implementing team standards in general. Because like sometimes like the problems that we have currently in like team leaders is like sometimes team leaders doesn't have the ability, for example, to ask the right questions, for example, like during one-to-one. Like I don't know how to get deep into my members, I don't know how to like give feedback to my members, like because I don't know how to do it and the method. So like that's why for TM what we do is like during the education that we deliver is mostly to that managerial capacity building, which is like how to make sure that my members, like my team leaders, can lead my members better, like this kind of thing. So I think like as an LCVP TM, like that's why like me and the LCVP TM work really closely on like getting the information. Okay, so like what is the current state of your TLs right now? Like what kind of resources that you need? So like MC can support in that. So like the role of VPTM is to actually utilize those like touch points or spaces to deliver to the people. And like again, like if you see, I think I put it in this slide, one of the problems is like sometimes in educating our people, right, we don't actually trying to assess like the knowledge gap of our members or TLs, for example. Like we don't know what is the level of the ability of our TLs in doing one-to-one, for example. So like as a VPTM, you always need to ask a question like, oh, where are my TLs right now? Like what are their level in, for example, doing one-to-one? So like when I know that and I have that data and information, I know actually what's best to train or like educate my TLs. Yeah. So as a VPTM, you will do that like consistently. So that's why like as a VPTM, I think one of the skills that you need to have is to be very observant and like knowing like what is the behavior of the members in the entity, and how to do that is of course to attend like every meetings, to like really sometimes when you go to LCM, like ask those members, for example, like, oh, like what do you think of this LC meeting, like what do you think about your team, this kind of stuff, to really have that information. Yes, so that's the thing. Cool. Any other question for me or Amra? Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, this could go to either one of you. Something like STM, like, how would you, like, I don't know, how would you like deal with situations where members, for whatever reason, like they stop being interested, or if they think it could, because like I'm talking about this specifically because like as a TL this year, like from the start of semester to now, like I've lost 2 team members. And in both situations, it's kind of like lost of passion, not connecting with it, and the most I could do was like make them stay on for a couple more weeks to think about it before they ultimately decided to or quit. How would you approach that as TM?
Okay, so like STM, like what I would think if I know like one of my members are not performing or like start to disengage, is like first, like do I know like what is the person expectations when they join Isaac, right? So like it's very important to know like when you join Isaac, that's why like what Amra said, like recruitment is very important. It's like when you join Isaac, like do you know what is your member's goal, like coming to the organization? Like it's very important for you to know it, and then after that, when you know like what is the thing that they want to get from the organization, and then like for example it's misaligned or they have wrong expectations, and they start to like, okay, I think this is not the right organization for me. So like what I do is I will talk to the members and I will ask her, I will have a one-to-one with them, and then like ask, so like what's happening, like why you don't perform in certain part like of the like products, right? And then like start to have the evaluation of how the people is doing. And I think like it's a tricky part because like sometimes you will communicate with different kind of people. Like there's some people that are really bad in taking feedback, that there's some people that are good with directness. So like as a TL, you really need to know like how to communicate with your members as well in like giving them feedback, for example. So like after knowing like the expectations, I will have the one-to-one and I will like give them feedback. Oh, like you seems not attending LCM that much. You seem like very disengaged. So like what's happened? So like, and in that moment also genuinely try to know like what's actually happening with them. And then like for me personally, if like the expectations or like they're really not interested to like be in Isaac anymore, then that's how I start to like, okay, so ask them like, do you still want to stay in the organization or not, basically. Because like for me the most important thing is to ask like their connection, like do they really still want to stay in the organization? Because like there's some people that actually really want to stay and really want to learn, but then they have problems as like, for example, oh, I don't have that much capacity, or like I don't know how to manage my time better. So like, that's a different story, right? But then like for example, if the person really don't want to stay, then like I think it's like it's time for you to actually question like their behavior, or like do you really still want to stay in the organization? Yeah, because like for us, like it's easier to focus on like people that really wants to learn and really wants that have that connection with like, oh, okay, I'm joining Isaac because I want to provide these opportunities, rather than those people that really don't really know what they do in like the organization. But then like for us as a VPTM, it's also important, for example, during LCM, for us to like always emphasizing like, oh, this is what we do, why this is important. So that's why like LCM is a very good touch points for you to recalibrate or like reconnect your people to like what Isaac is doing, and then like what's happening in the entity, basically. Yeah, is it clear enough, like my answer?
Yeah, so I'm saying it basically find out what's going on specifically with each of them.
Yes,
right?
like really specifically, like ask like what is the reason. Like if you think like they portray very like not like a bad attitude, or the attitude that you don't expect, then you give directly feedback with them. And then like for example, if you think like as a team leader you don't have the ability, or you feel like I don't really know how to give feedback that well, that's how like an as a VPTM, like our role is to actually supporting people and give education on how can actually people manage the team better in a way. Yeah, so like that's basically the thing that we face every time. It's not only you, like there's a lot of people in this organization that face the same thing. So like us, like as a TM, where we're actively trying to find a solution. and then thinking about the best way based on our learnings as well. Yes. Amra, do you have anything to share, or like do you have any same experience with this?
Like I've had a lot of experiences with it, but it's essentially knowing that like if the member does leave, that you've done your best as a TL and it's not really your fault, because not everyone not everyone wants to be in the organization, as sad as it is, but it's really taking those steps to like understand, like as Kiki said, like why are they feeling demotivated, like what is the reason that they're dropping off, and like what kind of support you can give them. If it's time management, then being like, how can I sit with you to make sure that like you can still manage your priorities and still manage ISEC work at the same time. If it's like not feeling connected with the people, is like, what is the best way you want people to approach you? If it's communication, how can communication be improved? So it's really getting that feedback and like really giving that person time, because yes, it's one thing to look at data, but some people can really grow from like 1 month to another. So it's very like, it fluctuates a bit. Like, for example, if you see a member's at 100% and goes to 20, you can be like, okay, that's a bit of a red flag. What is it that I can help them? Is something going on with them? Do they need extra support? Or seeing that one member's working really hard but not getting the results. So how can we as an LC help upskill these members to make sure that like they have that support to be able to achieve? But if in the end they're just not aligned and they feel like they don't want to commit the time or they don't want to accept the support, and you've taken all those action steps as a TL, it's okay to let them lead the organization, because it takes a lot of stress off your TL and it takes a lot of stress off like the LC, and it really just lets the people that want to be there and want to learn to really help grow. Because even if your like members aren't achieving 100%, if they have the mindset that they want to learn and they want to grow and they want to do the work, you can easily build on that and eventually it'll build into results.
Cool.
Just a question. So, what if members like being underperform all the time and they cannot find a reason to like quit the organization? So, what action step we should do with that members? If like it should be like TL responsibility or like the LC VPTM responsibility as well.
Sorry, again, can you repeat the question?
So if a member is like constantly underperform throughout all their experience or their ISEC journey, but they still cannot find a reason to quit the organization yet, then what should we do? Like if we, like as Amra told, like said before, that we can like it's not our fault if they don't do the work and they leave the organization, but if they don't, they just stay. And then like what action steps should we do, and what whose responsibility is that?
Okay, so at this of course the first responsibility is of course the TL, because like the TL is the one that leading the team and the TL is the one that leading the members. But like for me, I was thinking in two ways. Like there's some people that need support in terms of like skills and competencies. Like maybe they are not performing because they are doing like the wrong thing, or like maybe they just like do it consistently, but the strategy is like wrong, for example. Like for example, you have people that come to stalls, right? But then they just stand there, and then like they complain they don't achieve their goal. Like it's obvious, right? So like, but then like this person really wants to learn, and this person really needs to be like capacitated in terms of like knowledge, for example. So like what TLs can do is like, for example, working hand in hand with the members and asking them, okay, so like what kind of things that you need to learn and what kind of support that I can give you as a team leader. So like that is like the first case, right? And then the second case, if the member is not aligned and like they didn't see the value of doing it, they didn't see the value of coming to RCM, they even didn't come to like education spaces, even though we provided them, then that's a different story. That's what Amra tell us. It means that the people doesn't have the connection of what they're doing. And then like in this sense, to actually
like they align with the organization, but they're not.
They align, right? Like is
they
it
align, but they just don't do the work.
They just don't do work? Like why they don't
do like they align, but when they like so the reason that member told me is that they don't have time to do it. But whenever I call her or like I try to get her do it, like after FCM, just like 15 minutes, she just like flagged, or like she came back to her place after that. Like she doesn't even want me to give her example how to do it. Like doesn't want me to guide her how to do it. But then she aligned, like she's very like all about leaderships, and then like she knows our purpose and she believes in it. But then she's just doing it because
cool. At least for me, my definition of engage is like they stay in the organization, they believe what we're doing, and they actually do stuff. So that's engage. So even though like so even though like your people are actually like, oh, I believe in leadership, yes, like yes, PNF, but then they don't do stuff. So it's the same thing, right? So basically, I think it's like, oh, who's writing in here? This Zoom is very rude.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh god, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, I really don't know how to use this Zoom. It's okay, we can still see it. So, I think like for me, it's the same thing. Like I think what you can do is like to ask like why you don't do work, like and be very like strict about it. Like if you stay in this organization, you also need to do stuff because like that's everyone is doing. And then like an engaged member is the one that actually like engage to every activities that we have. And then for example, you already provide like, right? Like, oh, I already want to educate them, but they didn't come. Or like I already have a space with them, but they didn't come. So like, I think it's something that is just like the things that they say. So what you can do is, I think ask very like directly, like why you're staying in the organization but you don't do stuff. So and then for example, if like, oh, it's because like self-management, like I cannot manage like my time, like my work better. So like what you can do as a TL is actually start to like, for example, helping them. Okay, so I have these tips for you, you can do this with me, so let's see in the next 1 week, for example. Are you still like doing work? But then like if you try again, you try to educate, you try to communicate, but still same thing, then basically the person is not engaged in the way. Yeah, so like I think it's always trying to put that effort of like trying to understand where the members are. But then like for me, if the members is like still there but don't do anything, then that's not engaged. Yeah.
right.
Okay, cool. What's happening? What is with the
There's a lot of hard work. I mean, TM.
of course. Tell me about it. Yeah, but it's fun. It's very strategical. I think like the thing, I don't know about Amra, like the thing that I learned about like being in TM is like you will see things in a more bigger picture, and then like believe me, when you're VPTM, you will feel like, oh shit, I don't know, I didn't think of it when I was a TL. Like there will be a lot of realization, like, oh my god, oh that's why team standards is important. Like sometimes people are too late in realizing that that is important when you start seeing, when you're actually trying to solve the problem, you know. When, for example, a team start having a problem like this kind of thing, then you realize, oh, this is actually important. So like it really helps, like at least teach me how to see things in the bigger picture. And then like why you also need to know like about operations as well, because like sometimes you need to give like suggestions on, for example, the certain operations process that we have. So like, oh, I don't have enough opens like in my entity. So like the question that you can ask as a PPTM is like, oh, is it because my people doesn't know how to pitch? Or is it because like my people doesn't attend stalls that much? So like, how can I do with my people? This kind of thing. So that is basically like what PPTM do in most times. Cool.
Yeah, like normally, so when Amra told us like just ask me any questions, I don't even know what to ask because I don't know that, oh, so TM also involved in that, like that much in the operation. But yeah, when like I become TL and I actually understand, oh, that's kind of question like we should ask the VP.
Yes,
because she can help that too. Yeah.
And I think really like, I think right now, if you really want to like apply as a VPTM, like really try to like ask your VPTM like how, like for example, I think really start to learn how to like see things in a more bigger picture and how things connected. So like for example, if you see like people are not achieving their goals, right, or like members start to like not you're not achieving your goals, for example, and then your team is not also achieving your goals. So like if you zoom out and see in the ATM perspective, there's a lot of things that you can think of actually. Maybe it's like education, maybe it's like attendance, like people engagement to like the organization. And then like to those problems, actually there's a lot of solutions that you can think of. Like for example, maybe do better one-to-one, maybe like have more consistent like training or like education, this kind of stuff. And then like VPTM is the one that usually like manage that. Like, oh, let's have an education space. Let's do this in LCM, this kind of thing. So yeah, that's the thing. It's pretty fun actually. Yes, and it will develop you a lot, of course.
Is the education space only happen can only happen during LCM, like and induction training?
No, you can do it anytime. Anytime if you think if it's needed. For example, like like my members doesn't know how to do stuff. Like let's do like education space like in the next 3 days. And this will be the topic. This will be the agenda. And then I will need to work closely, for example, with my VP OGV. Okay, so like what kind of things that you need from me to help? Like maybe creating the spaces, like making sure like how to say, like the content is like proper to like what the members needed. So like, for example, the OGV people can deliver it properly. So like, we're usually the one that facilitate that, like making sure that it happens. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be like every LCM. Like usually for me, at least in my experience, I have it like, we usually have like this education week, or like we have like this mini conferences where we train like our people about like operations. And then like in this whole day, like it's kind of like a small summit, this kind of thing. And then like usually you can manage that with your VPTM, because your VPTM is the one that arrange like the education, like the whole education cycle in the LC. Yes. So it's a lot of stuff. Yes. But it's fun. It's cool. Nice. Any other question? You only have 8 minutes left.
Is there
Yes.
is there a fixed is there a fixed MEC for TL level apart from like the performance management courses?
We actually have, like, we have all of the resources. I think you can really ask your VPTM about that. Like, we actually have this like TL how-to like booklet. It's very beautiful. It's created by the past ESD. So like it includes like all of the team standards and all of like the things that TL should do in terms of like implementing team standards besides performance management. So like, for example, like how to build a team, like how to create a team identity. Like we have this as well. Like from all of the stage of team standards, we have all of it. Like how to like do R&R, like how to recognize your people, how to do like, we also have a booklet, how to do team days. Like we have it. You can ask the VPTM, like how to do team days properly. Example of team days agenda. Like we have all of it. So like, I think we actually have a lot of resources. It's just in the terms of like how you are going to deliver it as a VPTM, and then how you see the importance or the urgency of it needed to your TLs, for example. And then like your VPTM can, like you as a VPTM can actually like start to think like what is the best way to deliver it in your LC in a way. So like we, as MC, we create it in very general terms, like this is the thing that you can do. And then like we also usually, like our EST team usually create like some tips as well of like what is the thing that you can do more specifically, and we give like external resources. So like at least for me, I read a lot of like team management book, like read a lot of like Harvard Business Review, like this kind of thing. So see like how companies do it and like how like other teams do it, so it can be embedded to like how you manage your team as well. Yeah, we actually have a lot. Yeah, we have a lot of materials made. But sometimes people don't use it. Nice. So
Is it the one on the videos, the one with Faizi's voice, the other 3 voices?
I think they created from us. We have the newest one, which is like the TL, how to be TL booklet. Yeah, you can ask Amra about it. Like if Amra doesn't have that, I can share as well. We have like the whole booklet of it, like with each of the links, like description of like each of the specific thing that you can do. Awesome. We only have 5 minutes left. Any other question for me or Amra?
Can I ask a question? Is anyone else speaking?
No, you can go first.
Okay. So I just want to ask a simple question. It is, so as TM VP, so I guess you guys' problem must be like somewhat local, and like so it varied from LC to LC based on their, I guess, reality, so to say. So what are some of those common problems that most of the LC run into? I'm just curious.
Maybe Amra can share as well.
I think a lot of it is that like during really busy periods when you've got like exams and you've got assignments, that's when members start slowly dropping off, and then TLs, like I think they struggle a lot with like, how do I keep my members engaged? And then the LC sort of struggles with like, how are we going to manage productivity? I think also a thing is just like making sure that like members are being kept accountable for what they're doing and the right behaviors are being driven. So you can have like one vision, but you need to make sure that like everyone in your EB agrees with that vision and the behaviors that you want to drive, and then that is being properly translated to your TLs so that can be translated to the membership. Because it's kind of like a trickle down thing, like that when you sort of demonstrate certain behaviors and when you demonstrate like certain things, that can trickle down to the LC. So it's sort of like leading by example, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I do get that in my LC as well. Yeah.
Cool. We actually have another VPs here. I just realized. It's Kevin Jin from USIT. Kevin, you want to say something?
Oh my God, Daddy Jin!
No, not really. I'm just here. Okay, so Amra, you can take over. Thank you. Bye.
You know, he's been roasting me in DMs this whole time.
Okay, so basically,
That's what makes TM fun.
hey, yo, we're still in the space, man. Like, the advantage that you can have as a VPTM is to roast me as an MCVP, like, freely. That's what Amra and Kevin do, at least.
It's not that hard, just saying.
Yeah.
Any other question? We have yes.
Hey
Yes.
guys. So I was just wondering, the question I guess goes out to everyone. What are the biggest opportunities or areas of improvement which you clearly identified during your term, and something that you'd suggest a new person taking on your role to implement in their term?
Okay, at least for me first, it's like to be really, really observant, and then to be, I think, like sensitive in a good way. Like, for example, if you see like there's something wrong with the people, like there's something wrong with the team, like move very fast. Like, okay, I need to like figure out what's happening. And then like sometimes as a PPTM, you don't have like as a single fighter, like it's hard for you to always look up to like every team that you have. So that's why like the most important thing is to have a very, very good relationship with your PPs, like products as well, that manage the team, and the TLs as well, because like that's how you get like the information very easily from them. And then like there's some of the mistakes is like, for example, if you oversee some things, then you are too late in actually like solving the problems, then that is like when the problem comes. So I think like that's one of the things that you really need to learn, and the skills that you really need to develop. And then I think second part is communication as well. Like sometimes as a VPTM, right, like it's hard to deliver a very good intention of like, sometimes you just want, oh, just do team standards. And then people question like, why I need to do this? And then like, why I need to do this like weekly, or like, why I need to do one-to-one. So like as a VPTM, you need to have a very clear intention of like why people should do certain stuff, because I think that is the biggest struggle that most of the PPTM faces. It's like to actually drive the intention to people, so people want to do like, people think that managing their team is important, because sometimes when you're very fully focused on operations, you're like overwhelmed. Oh, I just want to do this by myself, for example. And then that's very bad. Actually, you have a team that you're responsible with. So I think really have that communication. Like try to best deliver the intention to the people. Yeah. Amar, do you have anything? Oh, okay. So
I think something that I would learn is like something that I would improve on is definitely like being like a lot more fast acting in things. And it's to understand that like you're working with the best intentions, and it's to really understand like you're not affecting the person, you're looking at it in a work context. Because it really depends on the culture. Like RMIT is very close, so sometimes you're like, do I want to give that feedback or not?
Yeah.
Something I definitely do is like to really make sure that like my TLs are giving me like constant feedback, so I can make sure like how to properly cater that like experience to them. But yeah, I think the main thing is to act fast and to be like, and make sure that like you and your EB are on a very are on the very same page from like the start, so that when you do act, they trust you enough that you can like act and they'll like agree with what you're doing.
Cool. Yes, so basically that's all. The time is up. So thank you everyone for coming. I will share the slides after this.
Thank you.
If you have any question, please ask each of us, as your LCPPTM, ask me. I'm very open. I will try to be as responsive as possible. So just add me on Facebook. Yes, contact Amra as well. Like, if you want to know something or anything. And if you want to know like about like ESC as well, we have like Stefan, if you know LCPP of Monash, TM, like he's one of my ESC. So if you want to know as well like about TM, you can ask him as well. So basically we have a whole load of like LCPP TM that really wants to help and support you. Cool. So amazing. So thank you everyone. Good luck for the platform. Good luck for the election. Like, we're very open if you want to ask any question, except like answering your platform question. We will not answer that. So I will tell my VPTNs. Like, if your TS or your candidates ask about the right, like the direct answer of the platform, like we will not give it, but we will give a lot of context and materials that you can work on. Cool. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye.